Enjoy the drive and the podcast. Thank you.
Very few crash retrieval cases in the annals of ufology. The bulk of Stringfield's paper consists of a series of summations.
Are you one of the few Utahns lucky enough to find an affordable home? Unfortunately, Utah is 153,000 homes short of meeting expected demand by 2030. This shortage keeps our kids, essential workers, and loved ones out of our communities. By building more homes, we can drive down prices and create a welcoming place for everyone. Participate in the Utah Workforce Housing Advocacy's statewide survey at demandmoresupply.com to support the push for more affordable housing. Together, we can create a future where everyone has a place to call home. Utah is 153,000 homes short of meeting expected demand by 2030. This means getting your hands on an affordable home is more difficult than ever because people are paying a premium for what's available, keeping our kids, essential workers, and loved ones out of our communities. If we build more homes, we can drive down prices, creating a place for everyone. Participate in the Utah Workforce Housing Advocacy's statewide survey at demandmoresupply.com. That's demandmoresupply.com.
Demandmoresupply.com.
Any Hour Services can help with any size electrical project around the house. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. Help with electrical projects and repairs are closer than you think. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com. Any Hour Services can help with any size electrical project around the house. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. Help with electrical projects and repairs are closer than you think. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Are you ready to take your small biz to the next level? At the UPS store, we have the key to unlock the world of possibilities. We'll sign for your packages and protect them from forged packets. We'll send text straight to your phone so you're in the loop for new deliveries and give your small biz the street credit deserves with a real street address. So what are you waiting for? Most locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS store. Be unstoppable. Coming to your local store today.
Dr. Whit Roberts and his team address hidden causes of stubborn weight, bad gut bacteria, insulin resistance,
Retrievals of the Third Kind at the July 28, 1978 MUFON Symposium. A three-part series by Stringfield based on that paper was published under the same title in Volume 25, Numbers 4, 5, and 6 of the British magazine Flying Saucer Review, starting with the July-August 1979 issue. Stringfield begins his paper by presenting the facts that the world public at large and the scientific community do not believe in UFOs. He then expresses the frustration of those in the UFO community who have no doubt that a real interloper from somewhere exists. He describes the field of ufology as standing at a critical crossroad as a divergence was developing between those who hold the view that the UFO is a paraphysical or psychical visitant from another realm or another dimension, and those who believe UFOs are nuts and bolts saucers driven by physical extraterrestrial beings. Stringfield's research in the crash retrievals supports the nuts and bolts hypothesis. and this became the predominant view throughout the last part of the 20th century with the popularization and commercialization of the Roswell story. According to Stringfield, through patience, perseverance, and careful, courteous diplomacy, he wove his way through the many shadowy mazes and found sources who describe events which I shall call retrievals of the third kind. He proclaims, now for the first time, sufficient data have been amassed to lend support to some of the old retrieval claims. He then brings up a point regarding the history of ufology. According to him, researchers in the 1950s, including himself, did little more than scoff at crash retrieval claims because of one grand hoax. He tells the reader that what he is referring to is the Aztec story in Frank Scully's 1950 book, Behind the Flying Saucers, which was the second flying saucer book to be published, hard on the heels of The Flying Saucers Are Real by Donald Trump. He notes that Scully's story was put down so completely that some researchers today wonder, in retrospect, if the book and or its exposure were contrived. It is indeed the case that before Springfield's MUFON presentation, there were very few crash retrieval cases in the annals of ufology. The bulk of Springfield's paper consists of a series of summations of purely anecdotal stories from unnamed sources. Springfield calls these
Bravo, no
summations
signal.
abstracts,
Let's
and each is
get
titled
air to this car in front of me.
Roman numerals. Springfield acknowledges that the cases he has presented, without names to back up the informant's testimony, can be construed as hearsay. He tells the reader that he must make my stand on the merits of my credibility, which he trusts has already been established in my 29 years of UFO research. One of the standout examples of something that can be construed as hearsay is a story in Abstract 15, claimed to have proof that UFOs are extraterrestrial, which he says he got firsthand from the son of a man who heard it from his cousin, who was a major in the Air Force. According to him, many of these informants came to him after reading his 1977 book, Situation Red. The stories told in the abstracts are all similar. Many involve military witnesses being blindfolded and driven to a location where there is a crashed vehicle and alien bodies, and some involve a witness observing just the alien bodies packed in crates full of dry ice. In Abstract 17, New Light in the Scully case, Stringfield reconsiders the Aztec case. According to him, Robert Carr, a retired professor who taught mass communications at South Florida University and was director of research at Disney Studios, made national news in 1975 when he reopened the Aztec Pandora's Box during a press conference in Tampa. The story made its way through the wire services, and researchers were caught off guard, including himself. He says he responded with skepticism when approached by reporters. In the 1950s, Stringfield ran an organization he called Civilian Research Interplanetary Flying Objects, for which he put out the publication Orbit. According to him, Carr had corresponded with him in those days, and he looked over Carr's letters and found them to be well-written, factual, and conservative. Stringfield says he got in touch with Carr, and Carr was willing to allow him to use some of his Aztec data in his paper, but he was reluctant to allow him to use the names of his sources. He then presents Carr's version of the story, which is similar to Scully's, except there were 12 alien bodies instead of 16. They were wearing tight-fitting clothing instead of clothing in the style of 1890, and they had heads that were large for their bodies and eyes that were slanted instead of looking like small humans.
Gas pedal right there. We got nice frames next to us. Nice frames.
Boston felt Utah's personalized care. Schedule your consultation today. Call 801-609-347 or visit feelingwater.com. That's Love Utah, science-based weight loss at Wellness.
Hi, my name is Angie. I lost 100 pounds a few years back, and I've kept it off. I went to Love Utah. Their program was like nothing else I've ever tried. It wasn't just weight loss. It was whole body health care. I was struggling with fibromyalgia, insulin resistance, and extreme fatigue. I was very skeptical when I made the appointment in Help Utah for a $59 evaluation, but I was blown away with the health scan and consultation. I learned more about my body in that hour than I've ever learned in a visit with a doctor. It makes so much sense. I would recommend this to anyone. You can call 801-609-3478 or visit feelingrotten.com.
Frustrated with weight loss and accident isn't tired of all the fat habits? Help Utah offers a science-backed approach that goes beyond that. Dr. Rick Roberts and his team address hidden causes of
We got 18-wheelers. We got 18-wheelers. Man, I'm just driving one of those. We got 18-wheelers.
Schedule your consultation today. Call 801-609-3478 or visit feelingrotten.com. That's Help Utah. Science-based
Man, I
weight
wouldn't
loss.
have all the stuff on my car.
Frustrated with weight loss and accident isn't tired of all the fat habits? Help Utah offers a science-backed approach that goes beyond that. Dr. Rick Roberts and his team address hidden causes of stubborn bad habit, insulin resistance, and patients have trouble getting 40 pounds despite diet and exercise. Lost it all. Help Utah's
What a
most
boring ad.
schedule
What a
your
boring
consultation.
ad.
Call 801-609-3478 or visit feelingrotten.com. That's Help Utah. Science-based weight loss that works.
Hi, my name is Angie. I lost 100 pounds.
Oh my God. This ad again. See, if it wasn't for 18-wheelers, you guys wouldn't have your Amazons. So thanks to 18-wheeler drivers. This feels weird. What's he saying? This guy is a little odd. A little odd. I feel like I'm in a video game. It's not real. It's not real. Oh my God. If everybody would go on cruise control at the same speed, that would be the most amazing thing I would ever see. Nobody's
so he could get an account of the Major's role in the retrieval of an alleged crashed UFO north of Roswell, New Mexico in the summer of 1947. Stringfield then describes the material found by a sheep rancher who reported it to the Air Force Base. Army Airfield is the correct term, as there was no Air Force at that time, as debris of an apparent metallic aerial device or craft that had exploded in the air or crashed. It can be safely assumed that J.M. was Major Jesse Marcel, U.S. Army Air Forces, retired. According to Stringfield, Marcel said he was sent to investigate and found many fragments of metal and parchment strewn over a 1 mile square area. He said the metal fragments varied in size up to 6 inches in length, but were the thickness of tinfoil. The fragments were unusual because they were of great strength. They could not be bent or broken, no matter what pressure we applied by hand. Marcel said that when the press got wind of the story, to get them off my back, I told them we were recovering a weather balloon. According to Stringfield, when Marcel was asked for his opinion about the fragments, because of his technical background, he was certain that the metal and parchment were not part of any military aerial device known at that time. The reader might note that there was no mention of recovered bodies in Stringfield's report. In fact, under comment, he notes, if there were entities aboard, no evidence has been found. Had there been any bodies aboard, they would have been destroyed in what appeared to have been an aerial explosion. In Abstract 22, Biological Data relating to retrieved alien bodies, Stringfield provides a composite put together using anonymous medical and military sources of the typical creatures said to have been recovered. The creatures described are humanoids 3.5 to 4.5 feet tall, with heads larger in proportion to their bodies than a human's. The skin is said to be gray, according to most observers, although brown, beige, and tan were also reported. The description is close to that of the gray alien, except for the eyes, which are said to be slightly slanted, appearing oriental or mongoloid. Stringfield's report at the MUFON Symposium helped to make crash retrieval investigations respectable among ufologists, just as Bud Hopkins' missing time helped remove the contactee stigma from UFO abduction stories. While Stringfield and Hopkins may have begun their work in earnest, they were instrumental in raising the tent for the circus that ufology has become in the 1980s. This is an excerpt from the upcoming book by Charles Lear, Press Reset, Ufology Gone Sideways in the Late 20th Century. Charles Lear is the author of The Flying Saucer Investigators, available at Amazon.com.
To find out more about our guest and all others, please visit our website at mysteriousradio.com. And I want to give special thanks to our co-creator and executive producer, Kim Kyle, who brought this show to you today and working on behind the
Let's go. Got
study lasted 10 years and was likely the largest UFO investigation ever undertaken. As this is now in the historical record, it might be of interest to know how Knapp got in touch with Sokolov and consider how accurate his information might have been. According to Knapp's statement, his interest in UFO secrecy began in 1987, and in 1989, he started hearing seemingly outlandish tidbits regarding crashed saucers, strange materials, and reverse engineering programs being carried out in secrecy in the Nevada desert by intelligence operatives and defense contractors. Knapp wrote that the first person he shared his information with was Nevada Senator Harry Reid, and that this was the beginning of a private two-way conversation that continued for the next 3 decades. Another person Knapp says he spoke with was Robert Bigelow, founder-director of the National Institute for Discovery Science. According to him, they both had an interest in Russian UFOs, and in 1993, because of Glasnost, there was a brief window of opportunity for Western journalists to learn about subjects that were previously off-limits. According to Knapp, Nikolai Kapranov, a Russian physicist, was in the U.S., and with the assistance of former U.S. Congressman Jim Bilbray, Knapp was able to meet him and talk about arms control issues and nuclear détente at our national laboratories and nuclear weapons facilities. He took the opportunity to ask Kapranov if he would be willing to find high-ranking people in the USSR who had a knowledge of official Russian involvement in UFO research and investigation. He was willing, and after 8 months, with an itinerary and an official invitation from Moscow, Knapp left for Russia along with 2 colleagues. Knapp's trip to Russia is described by one of his colleagues, Brian Gresh, in the article headlined Soviet UFO Secrets, published in the summer 1994 Flying Saucer Review, Volume 39, Number 2. According to editor Gordon Creighton, the article first appeared in the October 1993 MUFON UFO Journal. Gresh describes the Russian hosts as warm and friendly and begins the article this way: "No meeting was ever complete without food." According to him, they were in Russia for 10 days in March, and among the people they spoke with were the head of the ongoing study of UFOs by the Ministry of Defense, one of the architects of the Russian Star Wars program, and a Russian scientist with first-hand knowledge of the reported crash of a UFO near Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. Gresh describes them meeting Kapranov during a lecture tour he was on in the U.S. and learning that he and his fellow scientists, as well as members of the KGB and military, had talked among themselves about the UFO subject for years. Gresh and Knapp, who teamed up to produce a series of UFO documentaries, UFOs, The Best Evidence, set Kapranov up in Moscow with an office and a salary, and asked him to find whatever hard information he could. Their initial thought was that they might be able to find information about American UFOs that the Russians had that might be under lesser security constraints than the same information in the U.S. According to Gresh, in their search for a treasure trove of UFO secrets, retired Russian Colonel Boris Sokolov was one of the bigger gems. Sokolov is said to have run a 10-year official study of UFOs, and according to him, the entire Soviet Union became one gigantic UFO listening post after an order came down from the Ministry of Defense that every military unit was to report all UFO sightings. Sokolov said there were 40 cases of military pilot UFO encounters. According to him, they were initially commanded to pursue and shoot all UFOs, but after 3 crashes and 2 pilot deaths, they were told to avoid engaging with them. He said the pilots reported that the UFOs seemed to know how far to push the Soviet aircraft to where the pilot would lose control, and they saw them as a threat. Sokolov explained that the military was interested in UFOs as a possible source of advanced technology that could give them an edge against Russia's adversaries. According to Gresh, October 5, 1983, is a date Sokolov will long remember. Gresh then relates this story as told by Sokolov. On the aforementioned date, he was ordered to go to an ICBM base in Ukraine to investigate a report from the day before by the base commander that a UFO had been seen over the base between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. During this period, the lights on the control panel lit up and the launch codes were enabled. They got an order to prepare to launch, and fortunately they didn't. According to Gresh, 6 years later, in the Soviet Military Review, Soviet military leaders made an argument that the Soviet Union should exchange information with the West in order to prevent a UFO-triggered nuclear exchange. Another person Gresh says they spoke to was Ramily Avermenko, a scientist who worked on Russia's version of SDI. Gresh says that Avermenko had a security clearance level so high that, for much of his life, he couldn't use his real name when publishing papers. According to Gresh, he told them that by exchanging information with aliens, a plasma beam weapon was developed, which he referred to as the weapon of the aliens. Gresh speculates that it was quite likely that Russian spies were in New Mexico in 1947 due to the atomic research going on there. He says that the next person they interviewed made it seem apparent that, even in the 40s, the Russians weren't buying the weather balloon explanation being proffered to the American people at that time by the U.S. military. Gresh identifies that person as Valery Burdakov and says he told them about his acquaintance with the founder of the Russian space program, Sergei Korolyov, who, knowing of his UFO interest, confided in him and told him his story. According to Gresh, Korolyov told Burdakov that Stalin had called him to a meeting in 1948 and brought him into a room where there were piles of material and information collected during a top-secret study, and that some of it came from New Mexico. According to him, Stalin asked him what he thought of the report of a crashed UFO near Roswell. He says he told Stalin that he'd need to take the material and study it for 2 days, and that he'd then come back with an answer. He then said he was told he'd have to work in the room, which he did, and when he was done, he told Stalin that the UFO phenomenon was real and that they weren't made by the US or any other country. He said that Stalin thanked him and said that many other specialists shared his opinion. Burdakov is quoted expressing his views of the US involvement with UFOs. We know that the United States Air Force possesses plenty of material. The US Navy has a big amount as well. We know that special orders have been given to keep all materials secret. When curious people ask for the materials, they are told they are not there and that they've been destroyed. Gresh ends the article hopeful that with the new Russia, there will be new opportunities for Russian and American UFO researchers to cooperate. According to him, an agreement was signed between their company and the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences to establish a joint American-Russian research institute to foster the exchange of information between both sides. An article by Matthew Bodner, headlined "Little Green Men," a look at the official Soviet X-Files investigation, posted on March 31st, 2016, on the website of the Moscow Times, provides a different perspective. According to Bodner, the largest official Soviet UFO investigation was managed by the Defense Ministry and Academy of Sciences, was known in government circles as the Network, was started in 1978, ran for 13 years, and was headed by astrophysicist Yuli Platov. According to Platov, they began their investigation with the help of private Russian researchers, primarily Felix Ziegel, who was, in Bodner's words, considered by many followers to be the founding father of Russian UFO studies. According to Platov, Ziegel's reports were unverified witness accounts which Platov's group was unable to validate. He said, when he realized we weren't obsessed by looking for little green men, he drifted away. Bodner spoke with Joseph Kellner, an academic specializing in the Russian UFO movement, who described the efforts of the amateur investigators as romantic and rooted in a suspicion of the academic mainstream. Daniel Galedo, the official UFO correspondent for the Vechernaya Moskva newspaper, added that a lot of their understanding of UFOs comes from Western UFO mythology. According to Bodner, Galedo is skeptical of many reports from the 1990s, suspicious that jobless military and intelligence officers were creating stories to conform to Western UFO traditions and then selling them to foreign UFO researchers. Charles Lear is the author of The Flying Saucer Investigators. Available at Amazon.com.
To find out more about our guest and all others, please visit our website at mysteriousradio.com. And I want to give special thanks to our co-creator and executive producer, Kim Kyle, who brought this show to you today. And working hard behind the scenes, our team of 4, I want to thank them as well. Follow us on social media and share the show with others that may like the subjects that we cover. I am your host, K-Town, and you're listening to Mysterious Radio.
Have you outgrown your car, or has it outgrown you?
Holy shit.
Costs weighing you down. Is your payment or interest rate too high? If so, it's time to trade up at Volkswagen Southtown. We'll buy your car for its original base MSRP. When you upgrade to a new car at Volkswagen Southtown, that's right, the original base MSRP. Only deducting for mileage,
Made it
and any damage.
to
We
our
want your
side.
car. Trade up today.
Come see why we're Utah's #1